Alright, so I've made a little video on the gun. Figured I would make a video just like the gun. There's not very many videos about this scope online. There's a couple of unboxing videos, but you know, I mean, I don't really care what's in the box. I kind of care the performance of the scope. So start off, this is a Vortex Crossfire 2 6 to 18 power by 44 objective lens, 44mm objective lens. In the box you get the little bikini style lens covers, which are convenient, you know, they're not bad. You also get, I think this is either a 3 or a 3.5 inch sunshade, which I like because the last time I shot I was in the sun and it didn't affect the scope whatsoever. The only thing that I'm not sure about, which it's not a big deal, but the parallax adjustment is on the front, the objective end of the scope. I would prefer it to be on the side, just so you can see what you're doing without having to actually look up. But I will say the parallax adjustment is spot on, because I did a 25-yard bore sight. It was spot on there. I backed the target up to 50. Put it on, set it on 50, spot on, crystal clear, and then put it at 100 yards, and the reticle and everything was crystal clear as well. So down here for the power adjustment, you know, minimum of 6 power, and the maximum, this is nice and firm, it's not really loose or it's not overly tight. Maximum power of 18. I will say I did notice that at 18 power it's a touch cloudy. It's not super noticeable, but if you're really looking for, you know, imperfections, at 18 power you're a little cloudy. If you back it off to 15 or 16 magnification, it seems to be crystal clear all the way up to there. Beyond 16 or 17, even at, you know, especially at 18, it does cloud a little. It's not bad. It's not that you can't take the shot. It's not that, you know, you can't see where you're looking, but very minimal amount of I don't know what you would exactly call it, but it's a little cloudy at 18 power, if that makes sense. I did go with the Vortex Pro Series rings. These are the low mount style, which I like. I did use the Wheeler scope scope ring lapping kit, and I did have to lap these rings in quite a bit to get them. What I noticed was right here at the separation line on the rings, right at the separation line, the rings were a little tighter than they should have been. They were pretty tight here and a little loose down in the saddle on both rings. But once the alignment was pretty good with those, it comes with the alignment pins in the scope lapping kit. The alignment was good on them, but I did have to lap them in a decent amount. But once I did, the scope dropped right in. It wasn't too tight. I was able to get the scope leveled up. I leveled the action, and really the only issue that I've had with the scope is I leveled the action, and I tried using the top of the turret cap to level the scope, and I got it all leveled up, tightened it down, double checked it, and looked through the scope, and you could tell that the reticle was canted a little, and it was twisted a little bit counterclockwise, which I do realize I'm right-handed. I was looking right-handed, you know, with my right eye through the scope. They do say right-handed shooters notice a little counterclockwise, left-handed shooters will notice a little clockwise, cant. I understand that, but this was off. You could tell that the reticle was off according to the alignment with the action. It was quite a bit off down here, and so I double checked everything. The scope body was for sure level with the rail, with the action. I double checked everything, and then what I ended up doing was taking the turret cap off, because I thought maybe, you know, turret cap was an issue. Let me take these off so you can see what we're looking with, see what we're working with. Got quarter minute adjustments. So I tried leveling the scope off of the turret itself versus the cap, thinking, you know, well, it's possible that the turret is more accurate than the cap. It's possible. It's not a super high-end scope or anything, so I tried it that way. The cap actually does match the turret perfectly though, so that was not the issue. What I ended up doing, I loosened everything up, shined one of my string lights through the end of the scope here, and about 10 feet back on the wall, I hung a plumb bob on the wall behind the scope, turned the lights off in the room, and checked the reticle, leveled the action up and checked the reticle to the plumb line, and it was for sure canted. With the scope body level, action level, the reticle was for sure canted counterclockwise. It was not just me. I actually had 3 people look through it, and we all 3 saw the same thing without one of the sets of eyes that I had looked through it. He didn't even know what was going on. He picked it up. So what I ended up doing, it was not off a tremendous amount. What I ended up doing was actually leveling the reticle to the action, because I need this thing to get me through deer season. So I just I leveled the reticle to the action, and then I checked the up and down, the elevation tracking, and the reticle never, over the whole travel up and down, it never canted on me. So it does track up and down properly. There's no issue there. The only issue is a slight cant between the reticle and the scope body itself. It was kind of a big deal at first. It was just irritating to have to, I was thinking, man, here it is, you got a brand new scope out of the box, I got to send it in. But the tracking is perfect. So what I did is I leveled the reticle to the rifle, and from the targets, from my adjustments made, it does track perfectly. So I may not even send this thing into Vortex. I may just keep it, knowing that if I ever put it on a different rifle, which this is probably going to end up going on my Ruger 1022 when I put a better scope on this rifle. Probably won't even deal with it. I'll probably just know to keep it, to level the reticle to the action instead of the scope body. Vortex, they say they got the best warranty in the business, and I believe it. I don't have any doubts that if I send it in that they would either replace or fix it. I don't have any doubts there, but it's really not that big of a deal, because the tracking true to the reticle is more important, in my opinion, than whether or not the body of the scope is level to the action. So other than that, this thing does have a illuminated V-Brite reticle, so it's a standard duplex with a dot in the middle. The dot in the middle is what's illuminated. It does have a fast focus eyepiece on it, which does work good. For me, I just need it adjusted all the way in. It works good right there. This has from a 0 all the way up to an 11 on your illumination. 1 through 11, and then back to 0 for off. So far I like that. It does bleed a little bit at night. Past about 4 or 5, you do get a little bit of bleed on the reticle lens, which is kind of normal from the illuminated reticle scopes that I've seen. It's kind of normal, but really at night it's bright enough, even at 1 or 2, depending on what you're shooting at and how lit your target is. It's going to be enough that you can place the reticle and make your shot. So trying to think. Other than that, I really like the scope. The scope tracks perfectly. It's all the scope that I need to make it through deer season this year. I do want to end up putting a better scope on this rifle, but for me, this thing is going to do everything I need it to do to get me through deer season. This year I probably won't shoot it past 250, 280 yards, honestly, if that. We generally take our deer between 80 and probably 150 yards. So this little scope, it was $269, I believe, at Academy plus tax, and it's about the same online. But that's it. Like I said, the adjustments are 1/4 minute at 100 yards, 1/4 MOA clicks, and I took one shot here at 50 yards, and then, you know, if you're inbound, if you're closer than 100 yards, you have to multiply the adjustments. So at 50 yards, I was off, you know, this much at 50. Made one shot, pulled my measurements, made one adjustment to the elevation, one adjustment to the windage, and then took 3, not consecutive shots, 3 more shots and placed them all 3 in the black at 50. So I can attest to the scope does track. So far it tracks perfectly. I did make an adjustment after shooting these 3 shots, but I have not shot any follow-up shots to see where, you know, I'm going to place them there and make any final adjustments to the scope if I need to, and make my final 3 here, and then we're going to actually do some grouping up here. But so far, that's my impressions of the Vortex Crossfire 2 6-18 by 44 mil scope. I like it. The only issue I've had is the reticle is slightly canted to the body. If that's a big deal to you, I think that as long as you check the tracking and it tracks up and down and you're okay with that, it's not a major upsetting, life-changing thing to me. As long as I know I compensated for it by leveling the reticle to the action and then check the tracking. Tracking's perfect, so I'm probably just going to live with it. It's not worth sending it in to Vortex unless I get another. If I end up getting another scope, then I probably will send it in because I won't need this scope on this rifle at that time. So that's my impressions on the Vortex scope. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of information on this particular scope, so I thought I would do a video.